Okay. So everybody, thought I'd try a different kind of video today because I thought I will dip my toe into the world of doing interviews with other photographers. So today I have a guest, I suppose you can call it a guest, on this interview thing, podcast. I haven't even thought of a name for it. It's not really a podcast. Anyway, today I'm doing an interview with Hanna Saba. Now, he's an Australian photographer, and we've sort of been Facebook friends for a little while, and I thought he'd be one of the first people I want to get on the show because not only is he a great photographer, also he runs several really successful Facebook groups, and I thought I'd just get him on, chat a little bit about his photography and the Facebook groups that he runs, and just have a bit of an informal chat. So he's actually now, we're doing this live chat thing. He's in Australia, so it's currently 11 o'clock over there at night, and it's now 2 o'clock over here in the UK. So, like I said, this is unedited. The sound quality is not amazing. We're just doing this via our webcams and phones and stuff. So if the picture drops out, I have to apologize in advance. So anyway, I'll start off by asking a simple question to Hanna. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how you, first of all, talk about a bit about yourself, your family, your background and things, what you do for work, and then also how you got into photography.
Yeah. Well, originally I was born and raised in the Caribbean islands. I was born in Puerto Rico, but grew up in Antigua. Uh, Back in '99, actually moved here to Australia. And since from the age of 13, so I've been here in Australia since '99, and just sort of went to school and that here. Started photography back in. I've also sort of picked up the camera as I was growing up, but just sort of never had that push to continue with photography. And then just back in 2010, just before the year before I got married, I said, you know what, I just want to get a camera. I was doing with a point and shoot at the time, so I kind of want to invest in DSLR. So I was shooting with the Sony like CyberShot cameras, and then I ended up 2011. I ended up buying the Sony A57, which is my first DSLR camera.
Okay, so
So
a lot of Sony stuff, basically. So you're
yeah,
still with Sony to this day?
yeah, still Sony till this day. Now shooting mirrorless with the E-mount system. So I currently have the A7S2, the R3, and the A7 III, and also the A6300.
Okay, cool. I shoot Sony as well, so I've that's not like as if I know a lot of people are kind of like, oh, the Canon, Nikon, and all that kind of competition stuff is
Mm.
literally. Actually, I think my first DSLR was a Canon, and I used it for video purposes and stuff. But there was an actual fault with that particular one, so I took it back to the shop, and they said, "Hey, have a look at this Sony camera." So I tried that, and then I just kind of stuck with that as well. So I like the Sonys, but tell me about the rest of your kit then. So you've got those, what is it, 4 Sony cameras? What about
Yeah,
what
I got
lens?
the 4 Sony cameras. Well, actually, before when I wanted to get my first DSLR, it took me actually nearly 6 months to actually pick what I wanted. I was going back and forth between Canon. Kept going to the stores, testing out the Canon, Nikon, Sony, and I just kept getting drawn to the Sony. Now, today, back from since 2011, having now 4 bodies, and I've got, I think, about 12 lenses, 12 or 13 lenses, some Godox, well, basically nearly all the Godox flashes now. So I've got a variety of gear. So it's just sort of trying to keeping tabs and see what I've got and how many I have actually.
13 lenses. I think I haven't got that many, and I tend to just shoot with probably 3, so
Mm.
maybe just 2 as my go-to lenses. So okay, out of those, then say I know you do portrait and landscape work and what have you. What are your go-to lenses?
My go-to lenses, actually, my two main lenses that I always use is my 35 1.4 and the 85 1.4. Those two are my main go-to lenses. The other lenses I've got, it just sort of depends on what I'm doing. If I'm shooting a wedding, where I use like more variety of lenses, like with the macro, wide angle lenses for table shots, for example. But throughout the whole day, on a wedding, for example, 35 1.4 is my main lens that I use. And then my backup body, I'll just change over between the 90mm macro to the 85 G Master to the 7200, just sort of depending on the location of shoots. And so every sort of shoot that I do, I'm always changing lenses. So it's never, I'm not sticking to the same lens because I only shoot primes. The only zoom lens I've got is a 7200.
Right. Okay. Cool. So, do you? I'm similar. I have the two lenses. I shoot with 35mm and 85mm most of the time, and I really like the 85mm. I use a
Yeah.
Samyang lens. So, what lenses do you? What brand of lens do you tend to use then? Is it like the Sony lenses, like you said, or is it Samyang?
Well, majority of my lenses I've got Sony, but then also I shoot with Samyang as well. I've got basically all their autofocus lenses.
Hmm.
That's Samyang. I actually better test their lenses. So any new products that are going to be released, they send it to me. I test the lens, get a review up ready. Once it's been announced, then my review and images gets released on that day.
That's a good deal to
So
have.
I've been doing that. Yeah, it's been doing that for I think nearly 2 years now,
2
from
years.
memory. Since the uh, it was I started with the 14 mil autofocus from Samyang, and then yeah, from the second lens, the 14 mil, up to the most recent one, which is the 24mm f2.8.
That's cool. That's cool. So you mentioned the like we're talking about the Samyang lens. You're an ambassador for several photography brands for different things. Can you tell me a little bit about those? Like who sort of kind of sponsors you or whatever the different companies, and then also perhaps you can tell us how you managed to get those gigs because I think a lot of people would like that sort of thing themselves.
Yeah. Well, currently I'm an ambassador for Timber Australia and Spider Holster. Those two are the main ones that I'm ambassador for. I'm sponsored by Godox. They send me a lot of gear as well to test, do reviews. Hence why I've got a lot of the Godox flashes, as well as Samyang as well. So I get a lot of their new lenses um, before release. So I'll be one of the first ones in the world to sort of test out the lenses as well. So it's pretty exciting to actually do that. It's the very first brand that sort of kind of started sponsoring me was I would probably have to say I think it was Godox from memory, where they sent me the 8200 at the time. That was the first. They actually reached out to me and said, they would like to sponsor me if they can send out the 8200 flash for me to do a review and do some behind the scenes videos. They've came across me on my YouTube channel. Naturally, I said yes. I'm keen. It's an opportunity that doesn't sort of fall in your lap very often.
Yeah.
And ever since then, just sort of been doing from the 8200, 8600, the 8600 Pro, now the 8400 I recently received from Godox. And then Samyang just sort of followed. I ended up winning. I actually won a competition. Um, it's they had Samyang had like a competition thing up. Like you sort of put up your profile. They'll pick a photographer to do review on that 40mm lens. I won the 14mm lens. I did a review on it. They loved it, and they contacted me and said, "Look, can I send you more gear out to test out some prototypes?" I said, "Yeah, I'm keen," and just sort of build up from there. And then Timber followed. Who else was it? Spider Holster in the following. I do some stuff as well. I do some reviews on that for Magmod Australia as well. So I've got a pretty variety of brands that I sort of do reviews for and what I'm basically sponsored by. So, but officially the ambassador is Timber and Spider Holster.
Yeah. So you're pretty much sorted basically for I like that. I mean I've been lucky as well having a couple of different companies send me things to do reviews for. I use round flash products, the strip lights and things like that. So it's cool, isn't it? Having free stuff basically sent you. Now, because you said you got it through your they noticed you through your YouTube channel. I was going to talk about the social media side of things and how your name or your brand is out there and things. And of course, the one big thing I want to talk about is the Facebook groups, because you run several really successful Facebook groups. So first thing I want to know is, can you just list briefly all the various groups you run, and also why you've had separate different kind of topics? Because a lot of Facebook groups, they can be just a general thing, so any kind of topic is allowed to be posted, but you've kind of got different kind of Facebook groups. So tell me a bit about that.
Actually, bit of a history with the groups. The very first group that I started was my Sony A77 group at the time. I bought an Sony A77 when I sort of when I wanted sort of a bit more of a high-end DSLR, but didn't want to go into full frame at the time. So I ended up investing in the A77, and I noticed there wasn't any groups for the A77. So I started that, and it sort of built up, but I was doing it more as a hobby at the time. And then when I jumped into mirrorless, obviously everyone sort of kind of wanted, A77 group to stick to A77 group. So I said, okay, I'll start up an E-mount group. And then I had started my Sony A7 group, and that sort of built up as well. And then I ended up starting, I love my bokeh, and a friend of mine, we said, because why don't you start a bokeh group? I said, all right, I started as Bokelicious Photography, just strictly bokeh, sort of artistic shots. It's actually did pretty well. And I kind of got into, actually, originally I was actually only started with landscapes, but then what happened was I did a fun shoot with a friend of mine who got a model, and he did it here and everything. And we said, we'll do a photo shoot. I said, no, I'm keen, because I've never sort of done portraits, and I'm kind of curious to know how it will go for me. We end up doing a Red Riding Hood photo shoot, and my Red Riding Hood images, a lot of people knew me from Red Riding Hood. And that shoot actually went crazy on social media, and it just sort of built up, and my following just sort of kind of jumped. And then I said, you know what, for fun, I'm just going to start a portrait group. I wasn't even thinking of, the way it was going to happen, to be honest. I thought it would be a fun. It started off with 1,000 members, and the building up to 1,000 members, and then it just sort of slowly grew. Maybe about when it hit about maybe nearly 1,800 members. Someone posted in a group, the top 8 motivational portrait groups to join. I clicked on the link just out of curiosity, and my group was actually number 4 in the top 8 motivational groups. And I was just like, okay, I wasn't expecting it, because I wasn't even sort of aiming for something to be like that. And then ever since then, that day, the next day when I woke up, I had like over 2,000 requests in my for members. So I had to sit there and go through them one by one, and then just sort of climb. So I think it's now been nearly 2 years now, I think, from memory. Back in we're in 2018, 2016, end of 2016, August, I think August 2016 is when I got featured from memory. And now from then, it was from under 2,000 members now to nearly 74,000 members. And every day we're getting like nearly 1,000 requests to join that group.
Yeah,
so it's just...
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, for those who don't know as well, I'm a moderator on that Art of Portrait group. And when I joined it, I think it was about the 40,000 members mark, which is still, that's a big size, for a group. There are big Facebook groups out there, but also if you not, some of them aren't actually that active, or the quality isn't that great in larger groups, and there's a lot of kind of spam and what have you. But the Art of Portrait group in particular, because I'm a portrait photographer, is really good. The quality of the images there, the conversations and stuff. It is a very good group, and it is crazy because the amount I can see the numbers as well as to how many people request to join that group every day. And I've got my own Facebook group, and I'd be happy just to have the amount of people who want to join in one day in the art of portrait group to be the number of members I have in one of my groups. So it's amazing. So it really is blowing up for you, isn't it?
Oh, I still can't. Every day I go into a group and it's like, wow, it's the out of all the groups on Facebook, I'm in a variety of different groups, and not because it's my group, but that portrait group, I've never seen so much high-end work that gets posted in that group, and the quality is just there. You do have beginners that getting posted. They want to test the waters, see how well the are, but the high quality of images that gets posted is just unbelievable. I get messages from beginners. They're afraid to post because they feel like they're submitting to a magazine and no one's looking at their images, and it's like, don't be afraid, just post. You're not gonna know unless you try. And it's the same thing what happened with the Red Riding Hood shoot. I never knew I would have you know be up more focused in portrait if it wasn't for that shoot. And the portrait group is just I can't comprehend how active it is. Like, if you go through the group insights in the portrait group, we get close to 500,000 posts, reactions, comments a month on that group. And that's crazy. I can't even keep up. I'll be going through the group, spending 5, 10 minutes going through that group, see everyone's posts, and by the time you think that you finished through everything, about maybe 5 minutes later, you'll be scrolling through your news feed. Oh crap! I never see that image. So it's like, where are these images coming from? It's like, no matter what, you still can't keep up with the amount of posts that gets done.
Yeah, especially for that size of group, innit? I do the same thing. If you go onto the photo feed and you just see the pictures are loaded, it's just constantly people uploading stuff, and it is, like I said, there's good quality stuff, and I just think there's generally it's a good vibe in that group. So well done on that one. Talking about these groups, because altogether, how many members are in your groups altogether? Because I know you said something about the other day how many people you actually have in your Facebook groups, and what does that then do for your brand or your name, worldwide? Because it is HR images that you can then promote out there.
Well, out of all my groups combined, I have over close to 130,000 members combined in all the groups. With the groups, I started everything specifically in like portrait, bokeh, landscapes, instead of kind of doing all in one. Because I know from experience, just wanting portrait, you don't want to post a portrait image in a mixed group, for example, especially when you have it's not sort of kind of focused. Not everyone sort of kind of focused on the same genre. So if you want an advice, if you want help with something, if 90% of the group is landscapes and maybe the other 10% is portraits, you're not going to get that, help or that, reaction that you would like to do. So I said, I wanted to sort of kind of break it into groups. So I have the Sony A7, A9 group. I've got the A6000 group. I've got portrait, bokeh. I've got the landscape. So everything's sort of specific, and just watching them, having everyone in that genre being able to interact and see the images, it was just kind of what I wanted with these groups. With the groups, look, with me, I kind of I actually never sort of kind of thought I would be in a line of doing gear reviews for companies or doing tutorials, or I've even actually hosted my first workshop in Sydney recently, and I wasn't even never thinking of doing that.
Yeah.
So hopefully I sort of kind of want to build on the groups to be able to do more tutorials, do more videos, be able to sort of help members, with, gear questions or anything in general with photography that I can help them with. Because I know when I started out, or, even now, there's those, no matter how experienced you are still learning. Mm-hmm. So I want to sort of kind of give to the community back to what I've received, and build up as well, working with other brands, and hopefully continuing doing more workshops, and eventually maybe take it worldwide as well, not just Sydney. So I'm starting off in Sydney and then sort of kind of build up and see from there.
Yeah, that's good. Actually, I need to pick your brain on that, because I want to do something similar as to doing the workshop stuff that you do one-on-one. And don't worry, I'm in the UK. I'm not on your doorstep, so I'm not a threat or anything like that. Yeah, talking about that. So, like I said, I'll leave links to all your where to get hold of you and see your work and things in the about section, or the show notes as they call them. So you're moving into do workshop stuff and things like that. So what other sort of exciting projects have you got lined up, either for the rest of this year or in the near future? Have you got anything exciting coming up?
Well, I've been trying to sort of get more into regular portrait shoots happening. Well, this year, early in 2018, I entered the Sony Alpha Awards for Australia. Came in second out of 5,000 entries, so which was a big achievement for me. So this year, I'm sort of the rest of the year now, I'm sort of trying to plan some portrait shoots, trying to do something a bit different, be a bit more creative. Next year, I want to try and take out #1 in the portrait competition for Sony Alpha Awards. So I'm trying to build up a series of images, that way I can have, when the time comes, I've got something to select on. So that's one of my aim, is to sort of, go all out in that competition for next year. So all my portrait shoots I'm building up is more going towards that. And just trying to sort of keep building up on gear reviews, trying to build up and just sort of take my portrait as well to the next level.
Good. So actually, I meant to ask this at the top. Are you a full-time photographer? Is this your main bread and butter job kind of thing? Or do you have another job and this is photography's on the side?
Okay, I actually have a family business that I work with my dad. We've got it's a workwear business, so we do like uniforms and stuff for companies. So originally I had that, and then, as I said, I was never thinking of sort of doing the photography I'm doing now. Like, I'm doing weddings, I'm doing christenings. When I started that business, I've never thought to sort of do photography. I thought it just more as a hobby, never where I am today. And then the advantage of having the family business is that if I get a job, say next week, I'll let my dad know. Yep, no worries. I'll take that day off, and I end up doing my my photography gig. So the family business is very flexible with that sort of thing. So you can say it's both full time, because whenever I have a photography gig, I don't say no. I will do it. I still have times for my shoots as well. So I'm juggling between both.
Right.
And obviously, it's been funding my photography as well.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I do the similar thing. I have a day job, and the photography is as and when, sort of almost on the weekend, kind of fitting around the day job thing. But that goes to show that being a full-time photographer obviously takes a lot, but you can still be a successful photographer even if you're not a full-time photographer, if you know what I mean. So, case in point, you're proof of that. So, yeah, I think that's kind of it, what I wanted to cover really in this interview. I just thought it'd be quite good because a lot of people know you. They may have seen your YouTube channels and things like that, but they may only know you from a profile picture or whatever, or just seen your name on Facebook. So I thought I'll do this video because it's good for people to see what what you sound like if they haven't seen your YouTube channels. So there we go. So I think that's the end of the interview, and yeah, I just want to thank you for your time, mate.
No worries, thank you.
And hey, you've gone inside. I didn't notice that.
Yeah, no, because it was raining outside, and I was starting not to be able to hear you, so I jumped back inside.
Ah, sorry, mate. Yes, raining in Australia. Oh yeah, because it's spring. Is it spring?
Yeah, spring.
Spring. Crazy.
We are having a very funny weather. It's supposed to be warm, but it's actually freezing.
Ah, okay. All right. Well, I'll leave it to you then, mate. So yeah, thanks for that, and I shall catch up with you soon. So. Like I said, I'll post all the links to where you can check out Hanna's work, and all the links to all the various Facebook groups, because no matter what kind of photographer you are, I'm sure you'll find a place in any of his Facebook groups. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Happy days.
See you guys.